Hey, everybody, welcome to the Art of Relationships show. Got a special guest with Susan Bratton, and we're going to be talking about what your maybe sexual soulmate is and about orgasms. And we'll get into, is this just for women? Is this for men or any gender? And I'm going to introduce Susan right now. Here she is, Susan
Yay,
Bratton.
hey, how
Hey,
you doing, Greg?
this is cool. And if it was 9 a.m., I wouldn't be as awake as you are with you being in California. Um, Before we get into this
Yeah,
juicy topic, if you will,
yeah.
I want to know what got you interested, because you have a diverse background. What got you interested in sex and sexology, if you will, and
Yeah.
orgasm interest?
Yeah. It's interesting. I never really, thank you so much for jokingly saying I had an orgasm fetish before we started the
Oh,
show. I'd never heard anyone say that before, though what I do say is that I'm a self-professed orgasmonaut. In that I like to go to the furthest reaches of our human orgasmic potential and then come back with the map to how to have those experiences for others. And I am also a person who has written hundreds of what I would call passionate lovemaking techniques. I really like to help people get into the flow state during sexuality, during
awesome.
lovemaking. And I really enjoy helping people achieve their orgasmic potential, which is that our human body can have 20 kinds of different orgasms. And the 20th one is wild card because it's really an unlimited kind of thing that can bring a person to an orgasmic state.
Mhm.
And I got into all of this. It was interesting. Just yesterday, I was talking to someone about how I had helped a girlfriend have an orgasmic birth recently. And that was the first time I'd had that experience too. That was the first time I'd really been involved in orgasmic birth. And a part of what I did with her was a practice called expanded orgasm that I've had for a couple of decades. And I
Okay.
got into, yes?
I apologize. So you're telling me you've had an orgasm for a couple of decades?
I've had an
No, I'm kidding.
expanded orgasm practice. But yeah, I mean,
Yeah,
I basically have learned how to live in my orgasm. Yeah. So
that is phenomenal.
you're not wrong that orgasms are inside us and they just need to be let out. They're not something we have to make ourselves do. It's not like learning how to ski spins in a ski park. It's they're already there. It's not a skill we need to master. It's an experience we need to allow, which is very interesting. But for 2 decades, I've been doing this expanded orgasm practice, and I was taught by one of my mentors, Dr. Patty Taylor. And she's who taught me how to do this, taught my partner and I how to do this, and we've gone on to teach thousands and thousands of people. But it was really that expanded orgasm practice that I brought to my friend's orgasmic birth construct. And so I think once you understand how to unleash your orgasmic capacity,
Mhm.
you can really begin to enjoy your sex life incredibly well. It's not just about making sure she has an orgasm. It's feeling confident and her feeling confident that she's going to have a lot of them. But that's just that's just where you're going to go together. You're going to go into that place of orgasmic bliss together. You're going to enter the flow state of orgasm. And I ended up doing all of this because I wasn't having orgasms during intercourse for over a decade of my marriage with my husband. And I didn't want to have sex anymore. And he was so upset about it. And I was too. It was just not satisfying for
Well,
me. We
and
didn't know what we didn't know.
right, and you don't, and unless you learn, or number one, I give you a lot of credit, Susan, because you have to be like anybody else. You have to be open to want to learn, right?
Yeah, that's
And
right.
then you have to look at, okay, what's it take, and I'm willing to go there. And as you know, most women do not have an orgasm through penetrative sex. They can learn how to, of
Yeah.
as you know,
All
but a
women
lot of
can.
people,
Yes.
oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
And versus, more external clitoral base or clitoral nerve network, which a lot of people don't, they talk about different orgasms. and they're all tied in regardless of the intensity where they're from. They're all tied into the clitoral nerve network.
Well, it's interesting. A lot of people aren't even familiar with the fact that women have 3 different erectile tissue systems in the vulva. This is my favorite little
I
picture
love
to show.
diagrams.
Do you
Yeah.
love
Yeah.
pictures? This is the clitoral system, and that's the vaginal canal. And it's completely wrapped in the 3 erectile tissue systems of
Correct.
the vulva. So we've got the clitoral structure, which is of course the glands, the shaft, the arms, the legs. But we also have the urethral erectile structure, which is called a G spot, but it's not a spot.
Urethra
And we have
sponge, and right, as you know, urethra sponge is up in between, up inside.
Exactly. And then we've got the perineal sponge at the bottom. And there's very little known about that, but it is an erectile tissue system. So men have 3 erectile tissue chambers in their penis. And they are 2 corpus spongiosum and a corpus cavernosum. This is the penis. Half of it sticks out, half of it goes in inside the body. The whole fruit of this banana that I'm holding up is a mock-up for a penis. If I took the erectile tissue out of it, took all the fruit out of it and turned it into a circle and wrapped it around the vaginal canal, that's what we have as much erectile tissue as men. So if you look at a penis double the size of what you see, and then think about that being wrapped around your vagina, that's what we have to work with. You could fill your hand with your erectile tissue if you're a woman. And women are thinking about the tip of their clitoris and that it's kind of far away from the vagina, but it's not at all once it's engorged. And so what I really like people to understand is that they've got the tissue, but it takes women 20 to 30 minutes to get full blood flow, where it takes men 2 to 3 minutes to get full blood flow. Healthy person. And so we just have to slow down.
Research. You've done your research. I love it.
Of course I have.
I love it.
You don't get to be an intimacy expert to millions if you haven't done your research.
Well, you need,
and that's my title, and I'm damn proud of it.
No,
I own that
great.
stuff.
And and there's a lot of people that you run into. I'm sure you've run into. I definitely run into that. They do not do the research. They throw their name out there like I'm this expert, and they're not. And I love hearing that you're very knowledgeable and you know what you're talking about. I love it. And I'll let you go on as far as, do you work more with females, or do you work with men or couples when it comes to this? What is your number one, I would say your top priority client, if you will?
Sure. Well, because I run 2 companies. I run a publishing company and I publish passionate lovemaking techniques. So I've published the work of 6 other experts, including myself, and we have 44 books and programs under the Personal Life Media umbrella. Most of them are orgasm skills, understanding how seduction and arousal work, lots and lots of lovemaking techniques. And then I also have a supplement company called The 20, and I make libido botanicals and an organic nitric oxide booster. A nitric oxide booster made from real foods rather than from pesticide-laden corn liquors from, other lands.
Chemical and everything else, right?
Say again.
And I mean, hazardous chemicals, and we don't know what's in them. Yep.
Exactly. So I don't work with anyone one-on-one. The way that I've operated over the last couple of decades is that anybody who is on my email newsletter and replies to me with any kind of a question gets a personal answer from me. And it's through answering the personal questions of literally thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands of people over the years that it's made me really understand where people get stuck, what their misunderstandings are, what they haven't been taught, what their fears are, what their obstacles and roadblocks are, both within themselves and with their partner. And who I help is equally people who are male and female body owners of all gender persuasions, especially gay men as well, because I really do a lot around male performance, if you will, male enhancement and performance, which is also something that the gay community really appreciates about me.
And I love that. I love that. And that is phenomenal. What, how much do you deal with, say, any gender with their insecurities about the orgasm, about the myths about it, surrounding it? Not only that, but, the medical complications, hormone aspects, pituitary gland, thyroid, all this stuff, estrogen levels, testosterone levels. And how do you handle the insecurities? What are your first, if you will, insights into helping people own their sexuality, own their confidence in the bedroom, if you will?
Yeah. Well, it's interesting, Greg. You said something very insightful. And it wasn't even anything you'd planned to say that was insightful, but you said something along the lines of, for the people who care about this, or it was something along those lines, like one of the things that you realize just in doing what you do is that there are certain people who care about their sex life and other people who, not that they don't care, but that they don't have whatever it is, the tools that they need, or they've been repressed or shamed or traumatized, or it's never been good enough for them to even put their focus and attention on it. So interestingly enough, I look at that as about 15 out of 100 people really actively care about their sex life. The rest are kind of just getting by or doing whatever they're going to do, and there's never going to be more for them. And it's probably going to just get less and less and less over time. There's certain people, and I call them sexual seekers, that for many reasons, they are the people who hold their sexuality as sacred, as important in their life, that it matters to them. And they also have this awareness, this kind of perspective or mindset of growth, that they know that when they learn things, they get better. These are the people who are very much personal development oriented. They're the people who have goals. And for some of them, their sexuality is a subset of their goals. And that's who I attract, though, because I am always teaching people how to do more and be more. And so whether you're talking about learning more orgasm techniques or lover skills, intercourse skills, all of those kinds of things, oral pleasuring skills, sex positions, those are what I would call techniques. Or you're learning communication skills, how to know what you want and ask for it, how to desire the feedback of your partner, how to do pillow talk, sensual talk, gratitude, appreciation, dirty talk, fantasy sharing, all the verbal and communication, how to moan and give biofeedback, some of the most basic stuff that people forget to do. They're very quiet. So that's the second leg. Yeah.
And I also found that's awesome. And I look at, not only that, I think it's about giving them, with professionals, with couples and dealing sex therapy and stuff in my office, giving them permission to own their sexuality, because we could get into religious beliefs,
religious repression, societal shame.
Don't
trauma.
even get me on those aspects. But the shame, the guilt, parents, grandparents, whoever own you, society, culture, sex shaming, which is sad, and giving them permission to own that. But do you think, going back to with the stats about some people don't care about their sexual appetite, if you will, or their even sexual being, do you think it's because of those stigmas, those fears, the insecurities? And what is like a first step, before I let you get into the second leg? What is like a first step that you do? I know what I do, but what do you do to help sort of promote their confidence and boost their confidence, to reduce those stigmas and give them permission to own their sexuality and wanting to enhance their sex life? What are steps you do?
Well, you keep saying the word. I give them permission. I let them know it's okay and it's perfectly normal and it's reasonable and they deserve it. And it's a gift that we get in our life, along with good health, the love of friends and family, delicious food, beautiful art. I mean, these are the things that buoy us in life. And and so letting people know that there's absolutely nothing wrong with it. And there's lots and lots and lots of people just like them who have the desire for more. And then I try to meet them where they are. So one of the reasons why I've published 44 books and programs is that different people are different stages and need different things. Some people are trying to get their wife to have sex with them. Some people are trying to figure out how to have their first orgasm. Some people really would like to get a blowjob. Some people are, feeling like they've got body image issues. Some people, there's just everything. It runs the gamut. And because sexuality is such a vast landscape, what I've done over the years is I've built out all of these different assets, most of them them free. Because if I give you something that helps you get where you want to go, you've got this thing in your mind, then I gain your trust. And you're like, well, that little thing worked. What else does she have? And that sets them on the journey of discovery and expansion. And if they don't know what they want, one of the things I recently created, which might be interesting to you actually, is a new download. It's a PDF it's a free PDF. It's called the Sex Life Bucket List. It's at sexlifebucketlist.com. And it's 48 what I call erotic play dates. Because one of the things that I found is that people get tripped up with this notion of having sex. You know, when experts say schedule sex, you know, just put it on the calendar and make it happen. You'll get turned on once you get started. I still think that's too big an ask for many people. It's just an overwhelming thing. And so I like to reframe it as this concept of erotic play dates where, and you can do this with yourself. You can have a solo play date, or if you're lucky enough to have a partner and you want one, you can do it with your partner. And it's 48 different things that you can learn and do together to regenerate or to accelerate your new relationship energy and to get yourself on what I like to call the upward pleasure spiral, where the two of you are like a double helix and you just keep getting better and better and better in bed together because you're starting to get all these skills and experiences together. That novelty and variety, or that sense of adventure of the erotic play date, is one of the two components to increase desire. The other one is surrender, trust, safety, relaxation. You can't begin arousal if you're not in a trusted, relaxed environment. You can't have performance anxiety and make much progress. So how do you get present and let the catastrophizing go and the worry go? If you're worried about how your body looks, you can't be in a flow state of lovemaking. So how do I help people get in the flow state? I teach them how to learn together, because when you're doing something new, you're releasing all this dopamine and you're actually triggering this state of attention to your pleasure rather than to the other things you're worried about. And so I think the Sex Life Bucket List is a great place for a lot of people to start when they're like, I know I want to try something, I'm just not sure what it is. You know, oh, I've got a whole box of candy here. Which one's going to make my mouth water the most?
And that's make your mouth water or something else water too. But anyway, about going after, and I love that analogy because everybody's different. We have, give out, a bunch of, it could be repertoire of stuff, kink list, whatever. And kink list to somebody could be like, okay, having sex naked with the light on, right?
Yes.
So it's different for everybody, and be able to give them, at least looking at, hey, it's okay to look at this. And if you want to try it, great. And I love how your perception is about being together in the double helix, to be able to come together. And that's, we get into tantric sex and, the aspects about that. But giving them permission to open up and get rid of the fears, the insecurities. You mentioned the body image, which is still, it's an issue for men and women. Everybody assumes it's just women. It is not. And it's also looking at
there's a lot of shame.
The element, performance anxiety. And a lot of people, and I teach and promote, a lot of men will never admit, am I big enough? I don't want to come too quick. Am I going to come at all? Am I, whatever talent, and trying to get rid of that and focus on the present, the moment, and the pleasure giving and receiving as well. There was a listener that mentioned, I really had to learn to let it go, but my partner is what really made the life-changing difference for me. Awesome. He makes me feel safe and comfortable, which you mentioned. We have to, it's so crucial that you're not judged. You're not, demoralized, criticized, or, ripped apart on an emotional level that, just makes you feel very insecure, makes you feel belittled. And I never want anyone to be in that situation. Why would you be in that situation? That's a whole nother episode. But and going on makes you feel safe and comfortable enough to feel relaxed enough with him. We've only been together for 4 months. Awesome. And have had more sexual, mental, emotional satisfaction in the last 4 months than I've had in the last 16 years. And
Nice.
this individual is, she mentioned, 32 years old.
Just a
Phenomenal.
baby. Just a
Just,
baby. You
just
got
a
so
baby.
much more great sex to
I
have, little
know, isn't
girl.
that awesome? And I love that. And the biggest thing talk about we could go is, Emily Naskowski, like, with Kinsey. I know a lot of people around Kinsey Institute and all this aspect, but looking at the biggest thing that research and everything's finding, that the biggest key to desire is pleasure. And like you said, if you're not getting pleasure, like you said, you're not in the mood to have sex because the pleasure is not, why would you do it? Right. And I'm not about, as people know me, I'm not about people doing stuff, having sex out of obligation. It's your, manly duty, your womanly
Yeah, you
duty, or
can't do that.
whatever.
Yeah. You got to
Oh,
learn
no,
how to
it's
have
about
fun.
enjoying it. And you have to take ownership in that pleasure,
Yeah.
and that you want to be pleased. And it's not just, um, you always giving all the time and getting into, I look at people that are people pleasers. They're doormats. They're all worried about pleasing their partner, and they forget about themselves. Like, they feel guilty. They feel selfish if they're concentrated on themselves. So, hey, what do you want to be pleased? How do you want to be pleased? What really turns you on, gets you wet, gets you hard? And they're like, oh, I don't know, because they're so other focused instead of allowing themselves to have the pleasure, to be pleased, to be freaking erotically freaking satisfied, right?
Yeah. 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 I know. That's an issue of worth. That's a core wound of self-worth is
Mhm.
what that is. So
Absolutely.
you have to dial all the way back to that. And someone who has a core wound of self-worth really does need to work with a therapist. They're not going
Mhm.
to be able to get a love-making technique from me or a communication skill and
Oh,
fix the fact that they've got a core wound. And that is the classic core wound. I'm
yes,
not
it is.
enough. I'm not worthy. I don't
Yep.
deserve. And that's most likely started right in their childhood, and it needs to be healed. But it is healable, and that's the interesting thing, is that there's a lot of healing that can be done, and often it's done by our partner, showing us the love, the attention, the affection, and teaching us how to allow ourselves to not just give but to receive. So luckily there are experts and there are great lovers and partners who can help us so much with those things.
Absolutely. Now, what are, if you would, that's up to you, of course, Susan, what are maybe some techniques to help people go after a deeper sexual fulfillment aspect, like you mentioned?
Yeah. Well, I think there's a couple of things. I, a couple things come to my mind, actually. One of them is you talked about sexual soulmates when you introduced me. That's one of my
Yes.
many, many books that I've written, and it's The Six Essentials to Connected Sex. And I think that, and you mentioned Tantra as well, and really these techniques are rooted in Tantra because Tantra
Mhm.
is rooted in sensuality, which is our senses, using our senses.
Absolutely.
And some of the six essentials are things like setting up the lover space, creating a place for surrender to your pleasure, rather than expecting that you're going to be able to have a great orgasm when there's a basket of laundry in the room and the lighting isn't good and you're cold and the sheets are scratchy or dirty or what have you. So,
Right.
some people think that sex should be this spontaneous thing that just sweeps you off your feet, and that's a very immature concept for sexuality. The mature concept of sexuality is to get everything ready so that it's all there and you have what you need, your pitcher of water and your stack of clean towels and your lube and your toys and your lighting and your music and things like that. That's one example. Another example is the notion that you have to learn new things together, the erotic play dates. The next is staying present with each other, getting out of your head and into your body so you can connect in conjoined bliss. Allowing that, and that sex is a mindfulness practice, bringing yourself back to it, really being present. And that brings you to embodied sexuality, which is, I mentioned it earlier, some people are so quiet, they don't even moan or give any biofeedback. They're very still. They need to wake up the engine. They need to look in each other's eyes, connect their hearts together. Many men have trouble connecting their heart to their penis, and they wonder why sex feels empty to them. And that's really the answer. They haven't learn to connect their heart to their lovemaking. They're still doing what is called friction rather than connection. Touch, instead of just tab A into slot B, my penis is in your vagina and we're just going at it. What about looking at each other, whispering in each other's ears, running your hands up and down each other's bodies? I mean, there's so many simple things that people simply just aren't doing because they're not thinking of it.
The sensuality is so huge. And that's I wanted to mention about, your aspect with men. I have been running over the last a long time. Okay, probably I hear it more and more, probably the last 15 years, maybe more. And it's been going on. I mean, before that, even that there's a lot more men that are looking for the emotional connection. It's not like you said, just friction. Yeah. They're looking for the emotional connection. They're looking for the eye-to-eye contact. They're looking for more. It was ironic. I had a new couple last week. He mentioned, I want to be more romanced, and that was from a man. Okay. Tell me, what is your definition of romance? And a lot of men, their sexual, if you will, repertoire is about connecting as well. And a lot of men need to express that sex is emotional for them. It's a way of feeling connected, to feel loved, to feel craved, desired, to be that intertwined. And women need to understand that as well. And we could get into, any gender specific. And this is not just gender. That's why I get away from a lot of gender specific aspects. Mm-hmm. There are stereotypes, but I look at trying to get men to be able to express this, because this is how you feel. And it doesn't make you weak. It makes you human. And it's also going to make your partner feel a lot more connected to you, them knowing that. And now, what do you need? Is it the eye-to-eye contact? Is it, like you mentioned, Susan, is it the sensual aspects? Is it the verbal, I love you, you're so hot, I love the way you taste? It could be all these aspects to integrate with that sensuality. And I love that. And that's awesome.
Yeah, I think that for a lot of men, they're always wanting their partner to initiate so that they know that they're wanted. I think men deal with a number of issues. They deal with not feeling wanted, because women are less oriented generally toward initiation. It's harder for women. Women are prey, not predators, and so they've got estrogen as their dominant, so they're worried, and they have to be calmed down. So and then men can't read their signals either. They miss the signals where women are like, "Well, I did initiate," and he's like, "You did?"
I know.
Yeah, I did. Well, I didn't know. They're hard signals to read, women's signals, and then they have shame around their penis, penis size, hardness, etc., stamina, premature ejaculation, delayed ejaculation. These are things that impact men. Performance anxiety. Am I going to make her have an orgasm? I'm like, you can't make her have an orgasm.
No.
You don't even need to worry about that. She'll have an orgasm if you know the things that it takes to help her allow it out. It's really an allowing rather than a doing. It's a being, not a doing,
Absolutely.
And
I love that.
I think generally men, a lot of men now. So one of my areas of expertise as well is reversal of atrophy of aging, reversal of erectile dysfunction. What are the multifactorial issues that have led into it? I'm not a doctor, but I am a sexual biohacker, and I'm really up on all of the technologies that are required for a male body and a female body to do what I call increasing your sex span. Like we try to increase our health span when we think about longevity, we try to increase our sex span because as you age, you get better in bed. You become a better lover. You're less worried about body image issues. Right. You're more connected to each other. You've got more skills and experience. So if you can keep your genitals in good working order, you can have great and better sex to the day you die.
We hope, right? And are we also getting better sex, but are we also promoting and providing better sex? And it's one thing, I'm having great sex, and their partner's like, who are you with, right? And it's looking at, and you probably know this as well, Susan, the last 15 years, the highest STI rates are in nursing homes. They're in senior care facilities. So they still want to have sex, right? Oh, yeah. And we could get into, I love promoting the general, but if, say, a penis is not erect, you can still make love. You can still give pleasure. a lot of people get caught in their head, oh, I can't do anything now, and I get stuck right there. But you can still, oral, manual, toys. There's other stuff that you can still do to connect, and then maybe you can relax, self-soothe, and maybe it will arise again.
Yeah.
What is, as far as vitamins, minerals, what have you found that really helps both females and males?
Yeah. Well, I like to think about, first of all, when you say he may not be able to get an erection, I really like men to focus on their erectile performance, and to not be like, well, I guess I just can't do it. You have to maintain your body. Just like you go to the hygienist to get your teeth cleaned, and you go to the doctor for your annual checkup, and you watch your CRP and your lipid panel, and you're taking care of your body. There are many things that you can do. Again, going back to sexual biohacking, there's really a category within there that I call sexual regenerative therapies. And part of it is the supplementation, but part of it is also regenerative treatments. So let me give you the stack just so you get a sense of it. Very first thing is, what are your testosterone levels? That's number one. Number two, and then do you want to do testosterone supplementation, or do you want to start doing some bodybuilding and lift some heavy weights? Those kinds of things are very, very important for longevity as well as libido. The second thing is that you really need to have a nitric oxide supplement if you are over 40, because by the time you're 50, you have half the nitric oxide you had when you were 20. And you need the Viagra works on nitric oxide systems. It's called a PDE5 inhibitor, but what it really does is it allows nitric oxide to exist longer in your body to keep your penis or your vulva. Remember, that banana is a circle in the vulva. Women, we have this, I think, a crisis where it's all about men's ED and not about women's ED, and women aren't getting their clitoral erections, and they need the same things. So
Absolutely.
we should be talking about this as all bodies, not as men and women.
I love that. I love that.
So the second thing is nitric oxide supplementation, which is why I make my Flow supplement out of the organic fruits and vegetables. I can give you a link for that. It's the best place to get it is Buy Flow Now, BUYFLOWNOW. You can get it on Amazon. You can buy it direct from my website, but that's a special podcast link for a discount. And then you've got that. Then you also need to make sure that you're getting daily multivitamin, multiminerals, because in all honesty, for example, testosterone, it uses boron, a mineral called boron, to uncouple it's bound with sex-binding hormone, globulin. And it needs boron to uncouple the protein, so it's free testosterone. Women and men both need free testosterone for libido. If you're not taking vitamins and minerals, you don't have enough vitamin D, you don't have enough magnesium. These are the things that help us produce our sex hormones. So you got to start there. Then you can add libido botanicals, and there's 5 basic libido botanicals that are both rooted in indigenous wisdom, but also have clinical data, and they mostly work on the hormone, neurotransmitter, and blood flow systems in the body. They are tonkat leaf, fenugreek, tribulus terrestris, maca, and cacao, which is chocolate, which is why chocolate is dark chocolate, sugar-free, is so good for you.
Yes.
So those kinds of things are great if you herb cycle through them. And then that's your baseline of kind of supplementation. From there, you can add the regenerative pieces. And there's basically a triumvirate of things that are synergistic, 3 things that work super well together. They are good individually, they're better together. The first one is using a vacuum erection device if you are a male-bodied partner and you want it to bring more blood flow, more blood carrying capacity into your penis. You reverse atrophy and even enlarge. This is where you get into the biohacking. You can enlarge your penis with a vacuum erection device. I've got one right here. This is a 2-cylinder system. They come in all different sizes.
Awesome.
You put the penis in here. It pulls the blood in. It increases girth. It increases length. It increases hardness. It knocks the plaque off the tissue, off the vascular system. It does new nerve generation, new tissue generation, new capillary generation. So you're reversing aging. You can continue to pump for enlargement, and you can 2 to 3 times a week of a good pumping strategy, you can do 20 to 25% increase in overall penile volume in 10 months to a year.
Yeah, and you have to, and that's the vascular aspect, and you have to
Yeah.
also remember about talking to a lot of reconstructive urologists. Through a friend of mine is one actually, and talking about all these supplements, whatever. They said they can do stuff. It's very difficult. People want penile.
Implants.
Men with penises, or people with penises want maybe increase penis size, and get questions all the time that they can increase the length a little bit, but the girth is the one thing they have a hard time that they can't surgically do without maybe implants, and
I
that
would
is the
never
one
do
thing.
surgery.
Oh, hell no, not at
Just use
all.
a penis pump and get
but
Gaines wave.
but
Take
there
nitric
are
oxide. Do
because
your testosterone.
because you also have to look at, right, but there are people that run through prostate cancer that
Oh,
have
I understand that.
other aspects, so you
Yeah.
have to look at those
No, I
aspects
understand that.
of people
Yeah.
that just want a bigger cock, if you
Yeah.
will.
Sure.
That the surgical aspects is highly discouraged, big time.
Well, I wrote a book called The Pumping Guide. It's at pumpingguide.com. You can buy it on Amazon, or you can just download it free at
Oh, cool.
pumpingguide.com. And I explain how Gaines wave, which is the acoustic wave treatment, how pumping and how PRP, the P shot, work together, what supplements to take,
Yep.
and exactly how to pump. You can also use a penile extender to accelerate length. And there's now also red light therapy. Hang on, let me turn it on. It's prettier when it's bright. You can also use a red light therapy wrap on the pump or directly on your penis and testicles for improved recovery and mitochondrial regeneration. It's called mitochondrial biogenesis. And that's what helps grow the tissue. Women can also use pumps, but a thing that I like for women, do you want me to show it to you?
Please.
Yeah. This is a vagina device that is an at-home device that I think is an extraordinary product. And you can go to vaginadevice.com to get info on it. This is red light therapy intravaginally. It uses vibration and it uses warmth. And what it basically does is it regenerates the vaginal mucosal lining. It thickens it up because estrogen declines and it gets thin. It helps with incontinence. It helps with remodeling the glycogen in the vagina. And it's super good for engorging that internal tissue, bringing blood flow to the pelvis so that women can get sensation return, more comfort with intercourse, more vaginal tightness when it gets lax because it thins, they get more musculature. So this is really good, but I also like it in combination with something called FemiWave, which is Gaines wave for the ladies. It's acoustic wave applied externally, which also gets applied to the clitoral structure because the clitoris atrophies over time. A woman came up to me at a conference I was keynoting recently, and she was in her 80s, and she sidles up to me and she says, "I'm having trouble getting there." And I said, okay, go get some FemiWaves, because that to me is the single, and you can get an O shot or orgasm shot, PRP, into the clitoral tissue, the erectile tissue of the vulva, erectile and urethral tissue, and that generates new tissue growth. You've lost nerve conductivity with your age. When you have a drop in vascularization, when blood flow doesn't come to your pelvis like it used to, loss of nitric oxide production, the nerves can't get innervated by the blood flow and they die off and they retract. Especially if you have inflammation, if you've got, and everybody has inflammaging, right? So we're trying to lower inflammation. Inflammation also creates nerve retraction. Like that's why diabetics have neuropathy, because the inflammation from the insulin dysregulation ruins the nerve tissue. And so these things can be reversed, and that's the thing that I like to do is I like to help people. You said it perfectly, Greg. You said when a person can't achieve an erection, they just stop having sex. And I noticed that myself with my fans and followers, and I created something called the magic pill method. The Magic Pill Method, you can download it. It's at magicpillmethod.com. It's basically a communication structure for couples where they're not having the intimacy that they used to, but they're not really talking about it because number one of the partners is like, well, if I bring it up, my partner's going to talk circles around me and I just don't know what to say. Or number two, I'm super uncomfortable even addressing it. It scares me or what have
Sure.
you. This is a structured way of sitting down and talking about the things you used to do that you enjoyed, the things you could still do, and what's broken that needs fixing, and how are you together going to go about fixing it. We need to get gains waves, we need to get femi waves, we need to use a pump, we need to get a vagina device, we need whatever it is. So much of what happens, painful, so many marriages get shut down sexually because it hurts her to have intercourse. Yet there are a dozen things she could do to make that pain go away, but she doesn't know what they are and he doesn't know what they are, so they stop having sex.
Well,
That's what we want
right.
to fix.
And that's where you also have to do, a lot of people, I'm going to give them a heads up. You need to do your research and talk to, I say bona fide, qualified OBs, because not all OBs are specialists in sexual health. Okay. That's crucial. You need to be able to look at those elements because there's also a lot of people, if a lot of women fibromyalgia, and you have to look at, first you have to understand medically where that pain, what's causing it. Okay. And that goes for men and women. What's causing it? Are there cysts? Are there, vaginal tears? Are there, endometriosis? Are there other things that are going on, that are causing the pain aspect? So, number one, you need to seek medical advice from a bona fide OB urologist first. And then we can go from there. And Susan, you brought up a lot of great aspects with the fenugreek, the maca, those aspects can help a lot. And then nitrate oxide. Sorry. I think I'm racing, but there's, those things are great, terrific. But I want to make sure that people listening and viewing that they know if there's any pain aspect, you need to understand what's going on. Maybe it is just lube, terrific, and you can try lube and that frees it up. It's terrific. Are there nerves? But if it's a continual pain aspect, you need to reach out to medical advice to try to figure out what exactly is going on. If there's, polyps, if there, like I mentioned, if there's lesions, endometriosis is another one. Maybe there's cervical cysts or cervical cancers. You need to be able to look at what's going on. And then if everything's fine, then we can implement what Susan advises, which would be, they're good stuff.
Yeah, and I think that there are very few OBGYNs or urologists who are doing regenerative therapies. And I think that the large bulk of what happens with people is actually things that could be fixed with regenerative therapies. And so I recommend looking up the GainsWave and FemiWave providers in your area because they're the people who are really reversing the aging and atrophy that happens to the penis and vulva, that the OBGYNs and the urologists are not getting trained on in school.
Correct.
So the OBGYNs and urologists, the generalists that are probably in your healthcare system, they're not going to have any access to PRP or to FemiWave and GainsWave they won't tell you about a penis pump. They've never been trained on them, or they don't know about the vagina device. They just don't know these things.
No, they weren't trained. Some of them are. That's why I mentioned
it's starting to happen.
Yep. There's some good ones out there that are very familiar, with the aspect in there. And I know, like I said, with the penis pumps and PRP, the shot aspects have been around for a long time. With, people with penises, they've been around for a while.
Yeah.
For women,
30 years.
You're right. Yeah.
30 years ago, last year, the vacuum erection device was invented by Dr. Joel Kaplan.
Yep.
And
awesome.
One of the things that I've been really happy about is that who knew I was going to grow up and become the queen of penis pumps? But they are, if you're 40 years old, get a pump. It's $200. You can go to
Okay.
pumpswork.com. That's the one I recommend. It's in the book Pumping Guide. It's got the protocols in it.
Mhm.
And start pumping a couple times a week. The first couple times you do it, you're like, this is a little strange. And then you start to love it. And then you start to feel the thud factor come back to your
Mhm.
penis. You know, like, whoa, look at that. Then you see the firmness coming back. Then you see it getting bigger.
The
Then, I mean, it's
heaviness,
just
the
so
the
nice.
heaviness, the bulk, right? Yep.
Yep. Exactly. And so that is so nice for men. And I think that I have many couples now who have been following me for years who are like, we both do our self care. We lie there and watch TV. My husband pumps. I use my vagina device. We're doing really great and we're taking care of ourselves. And when you can get to that level of comfort with your partner, with your genitals, you know, it's very similar to like crossing that hurdle around mutual masturbation,
How it
where
should be, right?
it's a super sexy thing to do together.
Yes.
Sometimes you just want to lie there and get yourself off and enjoy your partner doing the same thing. It's the simplest thing in the world. But people are so entrained to believe that masturbation is this bad thing, that it's, you know, that we shouldn't want to do it. When it's really one of the very best things you can do, especially with your partner. It's one of the most
Absolutely.
fun things.
And you won't grow hair on your palms. No. Oh, okay. Susan, I appreciate you being on. Thank you
Thank
so
you.
much. Now, where can people find you, your website?
Sure.
I'm going to post it on social media as well. Where can people find you? And I'm sure on your website, you have links all over to everything you mentioned
I
as
do.
well.
Yeah.
So hit it out.
Sure. My main website with thousands of articles I've written over many decades is at personallifemedia.com. I have a website with hundreds of videos searchable on every topic we've discussed today and more at betterlover.com. You can slide into my DMs on Instagram at Susan Bratton. And I'd be happy to. And if you opt in for any of the free gifts I dropped today, you'll be on my email newsletter for as long as you'd like. It's a one-click unsubscribe, but I reply to all the emails that people send me there. So if you get an email from me and you just reply, it goes to my inbox and I answer you personally. And that is my joy to support you. My passion is passion. I love to help people get the kind of intimacy and connection and pleasure and orgasm that they desire. And it is
Awesome.
there and available for you. So thank you so much, Greg, for having me on your show. Congratulations for how many episodes have you done, man? You've been just at this for years.
A long time. I think there's over 500. It's a while. My main
Incredible.
passion, like a lot of people, I'm terrible at marketing business. My main passion is to help people like yours, and that's why
We are kindred
I reached
spirits.
out. And I'm very picky, and I want to make sure people know what they're talking about and helping people like yourself. So
Thank you. I'm
thank
honored
you
to be
so
here.
much. Thank you. And I'm going to say goodbye to Susan. I appreciate you very much and take care. Thank you. There we go. Hi, everybody. Real quick, check out betterlovers.com from Susan Bratton. I want to appreciate her. She brought up a lot of good advice and a lot of good insights to help a lot of people. But again, I want to make sure, talking about regenerative aspects, we have to be careful that it's not pseudoscience or pseudo medicine. So, there's a lot of urologists, like I mentioned before, that they really don't specialize in sexual performance aspects or sexual, if you want to say, dissatisfaction aspects. Oh, take this pill and you're fine. They're looking more on the medical aspect, but you also have to look at ones that key in on the emotional and the mental aspects as well. And they know it's important to you versus up, you're old, you got to be okay with not having sex or, having, pain, vaginal pain aspects, or, a flaccid penis aspect. And like I said, a lot of people look at goal oriented and it's about connected sex. So do your research, and you can hit me up, my website, theartofrelationships.org, and check me out all over the place. Love Guru Greg. You can catch the show on my website, theartofrelationships.org/AOR hyphen show. So art of relationships hyphen show, and you'll see all the episodes. I have them on YouTube and everything else. Okay. So thank you very much, everybody. And thank you again to Susan. Take care. Peace.